bring in Margaret McCuaig-Johnston of the Canada-China Forum. Margaret, thanks for joining us today. Did you see Canada as having to follow suit after the U.S. imposed its tariff?
We really did. This is a North American market, and we need to reinforce our battery investments and investments in electric vehicles here. We might have done something like the European Union did at a lower level of tariff, but I think Department of Finance looked at that carefully and decided we needed to stick with the U.S. because it is a North American market.
Has China retaliated against either the U.S. or Europe for imposing tariffs?
Not that we've seen yet. In the case of Europe, the tariffs were quite a bit lower. They were 17% to 36.3%. So that's a lot different than 100. And in that case, Tesla was only given 9%. So there is a big difference with the EU.
And with Canada, we don't understand yet whether Tesla is going to be carved out.
Well, there have been discussions with Department of Finance with Tesla, and if they were going to do that, I think they would have announced it at the same time. When I wrote my brief to Department of Finance on this issue last month, I was looking carefully at what we might do with Tesla, because it is a North American company, but all of the same factors of manufacturing at lower labor standards, environmental standards, and especially the software on Teslas are the same as on Chinese EVs. And that's a big issue with data being gathered and kept in China.
We've heard the rhetoric today. I'm just wondering what you think would be the concrete possibilities from China as far as responses go.
Well, if China wanted to be a normal trading partner and set an example internationally, it would do what other countries do and say, well, this will be up for diplomatic discussions, but we're not taking early action. We will look at what our options are. That's not what China does in some of these cases, so we'll just see whether they want to retaliate on our natural resources. They need our resources, and so they may try some kind of retaliation, but as we saw with canola a few years ago when they supposedly banned that, in fact, they were getting it through the United Arab Emirates in the form of canola oil. So they found a way of getting it, and they were able to continue with that product.
Would they complain, look for a dispute mechanism, go to the World Trade Organization? Do they tend to do that?
They do tend to do that, and that makes it tricky for Canada because the clause that we used for our announcement, 53, Section 53, is not a normal WTO clause. So we did not invite China to look at what we were proposing to do and have negotiations or discussions with us. We just announced it. And that's because we didn't want to engage with China. We wanted to have a firm decision. And that goes back to the fact that we have a North American market to protect.
Do you see a response as well from China coming down because of the steel tariff?
There may be, but steel and aluminum are at 25%, are again questions where Canada has a strong ethical reason to make a decision, because aluminum in China is made very often with Uyghur forced labor. And that's something that Canada has been trying to reduce in this country. They haven't taken the strongest legislation yet, but certainly they're very much aware that Uyghur forced labor has been an issue in Chinese EVs as well as aluminum more generally.
Margaret, I've got to leave it there with you, but appreciate you stopping in on the program. Thanks for your time today.
Thanks for inviting me.